What's up, everybody? Welcome to T&M Pulse. It is Thaddeus and Mike again, and we're here for episode 2. So you guys stay tuned, get strapped in, and Mike, let's get this started off. You have anything you want to start out with?
Yeah, let's get right into it. Andrew Tate and Bonnie Blue.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that was a rough one. What did you think about that? I know we didn't watch the full 2 hours of it, but I feel like we got a good chunk of it. I mean, the 20, 30, 40 minutes of it is you pretty much get the gist probably within the first couple minutes. But yeah, what were your thoughts on that? Because I have a couple as well.
I mean, it's like the typical. You know what you're gonna get from them. Nothing worth any value to me, other than some trolling from Andrew Tate and then Bonnie Blue just being Bonnie Blue. It's like she had some. It seemed like she was true to herself, as crazy as that sounds, but they had
Yeah,
some mutual respect for each other. They're both just different minds, you know. They go about life differently. So I didn't really have too much expectations, other than I knew what I was getting into listening to it. I didn't watch the whole podcast, but I got the gist of it. It was like talking in circles, you know. Them going
yeah,
back and forth talking about what they believe in, and him empowering her and her empowering him essentially too. But I mean, they had some good talking points for sure. But what did you think
yeah,
initially?
yeah. I mean, I've watched enough of Andrew Tate to kind of get an idea of what kind of man he is from afar. And despite all the allegations and all the craziness, right? Like he has some stuff that I think isn't I think it's helpful, it's useful for certain people and for men specifically, but there's also like a lot of character issues probably that I don't agree with, and obviously like just the over like just the way that he talks about women, right, in a certain fashion, I think is quite extreme. But yeah, like Bonnie Blue, I mean, I couldn't even believe it that she's only 25 years old. Like
Yeah,
that
she looks
crazy.
like she's aged. Her spirit has aged, and it's starting to physically show too. Um,
Yeah,
it is crazy. But I
yeah,
for
it's
the
sad.
for the audience that didn't watch it, I have a quick summary to read to them, just to bring them up to speed on what they're talking about essentially. So basically, these two personas, if you want to call them that, they were brought together to talk about feminism's impact on modern gender role and relationships. For Bonnie Blue, sex work and empowerment, defending her choices as autonomy, while Tate, he would call her the end result of feminism, as he mentioned.
Mhm.
Public perception and media vilification, with both of them claiming they're misunderstood and unfairly portrayed for both of their views. Now, Andrew Tate, he's a proclaimed Muslim. I don't know if he's practicing, but he definitely tries to follow some of the teachings behind that. More of the extreme route, I would say. And then the double standards, especially around the sexual history, societal expectation, and personal freedom for Bonnie Blue's standpoint with, her, her past and what she's doing with it now and how she's living off of that. So that's a quick summary of, I guess, the themes that were talked about in the podcast. But a question for you, Thaddeus, is Bonnie Blue truly the end result of feminism, or is it just Andrew Tate's spin to it all?
Yeah, I think to an extent, she's an extreme version of what he mentioned, right? Like the end result of feminism, right? Because her whole deal was women liberation, and for whatever reason, her concept of women liberation, it almost kind of feels like that's pretty popular nowadays. Is like the control over their own, woman's body, and that typically has to do with sex, right? Like if I can control who I sleep with, who I'm with, and you kind of take away the the the, the sacred, like what I guess what you would say is a beautiful. Sex is supposed to be beautiful, right? It's a gift given from God. So if you kind of take that away and you just kind of use it as you will to obviously get whatever you want and do whatever you want, for whatever reason she feels like she has power over herself. So I think the more and more women that are like following that and thinking that like my body and I can do whatever I want with it and I shouldn't be judged, or I don't have to answer to anybody and there's no repercussions. Yeah, to an extent, right? Maybe not to the the extreme measure of 1,000 men to sleep with in like a few months or so, but it's not looking good. I don't know. What do you think about that though?
Well, the main thing that stuck out to me with the end result to feminism was how contradicting kind of Andrew Tate was being. Well, I don't know if he was being contradicting. I take that back. But he mentioned that women out here are basically all sex workers and they're either getting paid or not getting paid. And it's like, okay, it's like you touched on it. It's supposed to be something beautiful. It's supposed to be something sacred. You're not looking for money. Obviously, in certain relationships, it's definitely looked at as like an investment, which I think they all are investments in general. It's just a matter of like what you want to prioritize and what kind of fruit you want to bear from this relationship. But when it comes to connecting in that fashion, it's like, okay, now I can give her money and take her out shopping, and I know that I'm gonna get my end of the bargain back. And it's like, if you look at it that way, it just kind of devalues the relationship and all relationships, friendships, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it may be in general, to me, because it's then you're always having an expectation of, all right, now I need you to hold up your end of the bargain, where it's like, that's not what it's about, So when he was mentioning about how all women are sex workers, like, that's just like such a shallow way of seeing things. And whether he was genuine about it or not, which I'm sure he was, I just think they have the blinders on in all different directions except for the right direction. I don't know. I mean, end result of feminism, like he said, she is feminism. She's single. She's going through a divorce right now. She's making millions of dollars. She's all over plastered marketing. She doesn't really need anybody or anyone. So what is life for her at that point? Like, are you just waiting for the next
25?
I think she said she wants to have over 10,000 bodies or something like that. So it's like, is that what you're living for? To just go viral and do this outlandish, degrading acts, and then what? After the 10,000, then what? You're only getting older. She's probably gonna look like 100 years old by that point, which could be in a couple years or so. Projecting if she's going to go at that speed that she's going right now, but I don't know. It was like a mind-numbing podcast to listen to. So I didn't really get too much out of it other than just what I already knew.
It's almost like that person that like they got bullied, right, their whole life for maybe being overweight or maybe having a big nose or whatever you call it, right? I mean, I think pretty much everybody got bullied at some point in time. I know I did, right? So I'm not advocating it for it, but it's almost like that person that because they got bullied, now they started to make fun of themselves so that they kind of felt like they're taking the power away from that other person, right? So it's, you can't call me fat if I call myself fat first and then I laugh about it. So now you're not laughing at me, you're laughing with me because I'm laughing at myself, right? So it almost feels like, well, I just took away I can't be used if I put myself out there to be used by everybody. Like if that's what I'm gonna plant my flag out on, that I'm just gonna sleep with pretty much anybody and everybody and as many people as possible, right? Like you come to me and like, no, can't think that you're easy. I mean, that's what you told me you were gonna do, regardless whether it was me or somebody else,
What were
right?
your
So
thoughts on? Go ahead.
hmm.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, what were your thoughts on her reasons for doing it? Like she kept saying she's helping men. She's helping those broken relationships of men that aren't getting the love that they should at home.
What you see is the unfortunate thing is the world has a funny way of making evil look good and good look evil, right? So we'll take what was given by God and twist it and conflate it and make it really sinister, right? Like uh First Thessalonians 4:3 strongly highlights how God's will for believers is to live a holy life, specifically by abstaining from sexual immorality and controlling their bodies in a way that is holy and honorable. Right? This involves avoiding sexual sin and maintaining purity in both thoughts and actions. It's almost impossible to do that if you're sleeping with anybody and everybody and then pleading the case that you're helping society. And what I feel like some people may not agree with or maybe don't quite understand is like we're very strong in our faith. We believe what we believe, and I'm not going to be ashamed about it. But at the same time, we have to understand that it's not just for believers, right? If God created this whole earth, if He created this whole world, that means everybody in it. It's not just your prerogative to go out and do whatever you want to do, and that the believers go do what they want to do and try to keep themselves pure, right? It's for our own good. So whether she believes that or not, it is kind of tainting everything in terms of society, right? And you're making victims of a lot of these men that just turned 18, some of these younger guys that maybe aren't getting attention, right? Like claiming that she's helping other people out and helping them feel better and uh, and not allowing them to feel so ashamed and like you said, teaching them what to do, right? It all sounds all great in theory, and maybe the world will tell you that, but we know as believers that it's a really, really dark path. And you can kind of see, like, it's almost like she's playing a character. You know what I mean? I mean, they kind of both are, to be honest. It's not to condone what Andrew Tate says or does either. They're playing
Yeah,
characters.
yeah, and set the record straight. We don't condone any of this. It's just a matter of, the conversation
Mhm.
and how other people may see it, but the facts are facts. It's not right. Even with Andrew Tate, um, wanting to have multiple wives and just multiple partners in general, and just basically seeing them as breeders instead of people, and instead of
Mhm. Yeah.
people with a soul and building those relationships with them. It's like those two definitely have hardened their hearts to many things, and I'm sure it's very difficult to get out of that mindset and
Mhm.
that lifestyle as well. Like you're just
Yeah.
devaluing yourself day by day.
Yeah. Especially when you're benefiting from it financially, or when you can take care of yourself, when you can take care of your family. And that is by no means saying that you won or that you have it all figured out or that even brings you happiness, because I believe you could see it in her face, right? You can kind of just see like there's shame and guilt no matter what she says to herself, no matter what her actions justify. I do feel like there's an implosion going on, right? It's a heavy, um, it's like she's being heavily manipulated. But there's another verse really quickly too that I wanted to share. It's Proverbs 13:22 states, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous." So, look, it doesn't mean that, right, like what we're advocating, that people that are living these lifestyles that they won't have financial gain or that they won't have what seems to be like they made it. But overall, like it's not gonna be fulfilling forever. You know,
Yeah,
it's not gonna, they're not gonna have it forever, unfortunately. So hopefully
can't take any of
they
that
can
success
turn
with you.
around.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
you can't bring it to with you when you die. You know, the only one you can bring is your offspring, or at least uh, your family, friends. If you have the same
mm,
beliefs as us, like that's what I believe in. You know, um, that's all we have. That's what we're here for. Spread the gospel and
uh,
bring as many people to Christ as we can. Because at the end of the day, when we die, all the achievements, the materialistic things, the money, it's just gonna die with the earth. So what do you have left? You have your loved ones, your children, your family, you know, your friends, um, and then the rest is history. But yeah,
yeah,
do you have anything else to say about that?
yeah. No, just real quick, look, like, and don't take our word for it. Right, you don't have to. But I would encourage everyone to read a proverb a day, read a psalm, or read 5 psalms a day, and just see how the word of God will transform your life. Right, that's what's important. Um, the reason why we're speaking this way, because the word of God has transformed our life. Right, so do with that as you will, but I encourage it. And but that's the last thing I have to say. Mike, anything on you?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it right in the head. I don't got much more to say on that topic. But yeah, we can move on to our next topic if you'd like.
Yeah, let's lighten it up a little bit, right? Like music in 2025. What are we listening to? What's hot? What's out? What are your genres? Because we came a long way from from some of the stuff we used to listen to back in the day. But yeah, tell me about it. What do you have on?
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to listen to more Christian music, more music that's gonna feed my spirit, my soul. Um, like Holby, Horace Frank. Who else? Who else in that realm is solid? Uh, Holby and Horace Frank are like the main two in
Mhm.
that genre, like pop, hip hop. I'm also listening to some country as well. Good thing about country is a lot of it doesn't have that vulgar message tied into it. I know some of it does, but Morgan Wallen has some good stuff. Um, I like some Shabuzi stuff as well. But honestly, I don't really listen to music as much as I used to anymore. I don't even have the app. I don't have Spotify or Apple Music, so a lot
Well,
of
you
the
got rid
times
of
I'm
it.
just for now. I mean,
Mm,
I don't really seek it. And it's like the only time I really listen to music is in the car or at the
right.
gym. And now in the car it's quiet unless my wife's phone is on connected to the Bluetooth. And at the gym anymore, I'm listening to sermons, you know, Philip Mitchell or some YouTube videos, you know, just talking. It's like I
Yeah.
don't really need too much to get the workout done. I never was like that. Um, I don't need a
Yeah.
substance to get me hype or in the mood. It definitely helps, don't get me wrong. Like I did like my rap, my Young Thug, my Gunnas, and I still appreciate the beats when I hear them. But it's like I'm not gonna listen to that every day and try to fill my day with that because then I just feel like it could go where I don't want to go with my mindset and just the energy that it brings around me. So not to say that I don't listen to it once in a while, but it's definitely died down a lot. Um, when I did have Apple Music, I was continuing to delete albums and songs just off of what was playing in the shuffle, and that just made it easier to
Mm,
kind of depart from it. 'Cause I was like, ah, I just this doesn't hit the same anymore, you know. It's like, oh yeah, it brings up a
right.
memory from when I was in college or you know in the locker room at football, and those are great memories. But now I hear too much of the lyrics instead of the beat, and it just devalues it for me. It just degrades it. Um, so
Yeah.
I don't have that itch to listen to it as much anymore. But with that being said, I do appreciate the beats, like the instrumentals to say the least. But if the lyrics are just talking nonsense constantly and it's nothing of worth
Mm,
from where I'm trying to go in my life, I'm just not going to listen to it too often. What about yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, for me it was a gradual purging of the music. Really, like it started when I graduated college and back in 2019. So I I started out listening to Young Money and Gucci Mane and Plies as a kid. All right, I was 11, 12 years old, which is kind of crazy to look back and think that that's what I was consuming. But it was popular, right? Like that's kind of what you saw on 106 in Park, BT, or MTV, and just honestly anywhere, right? Like it's not like the music isn't played when you go to the gym or when you're just working out. And I mean, we came from obviously football culture, and that's where a lot of the music comes from. So you just kind of fit in a little bit, and like you said, like the beat sounds good, the rappers sound good, you think they're cool, whatever. So, but I always knew that like it wasn't feeding my spirit. I knew that it wasn't something that I probably should really like entertain, but I just always would give in until, like I said, in 2019, that's when I found John Mayer. I saw him play Neon on YouTube live, and I was like, man, this dude is crazy. Like just how he plays, and I was like this is really, really like musically impressive. And I was like, this guy's super talented. So I went down that rabbit hole, became a big John Mayer fan. And then I started to cut out like a lot of like the rap, a lot of the hip hop, like I said, gradually over the years to now where it's like you said, Hovey, Frank, Forrest Frank, listening to worship music primarily to start the day. Um, it's my alarm when I wake up. I just want to keep my mind on things that are consistent to him, right? So that's really what I've been listening to. And like you said, I don't need the any up music. I don't need the beats. So I'm working out at the gym. Like that doesn't help me. Half the time I'm listening to same thing like a sermon, or I'm listening to a different podcast. I very rarely listen to music in the gym anymore. I haven't for probably since 2020, honestly, because it just I don't know. I don't need it. It doesn't really hype me up. And so I really am wanting something. I maybe play a song or two, and then I get bored, and then I just want to kind of hear something to stimulate my brain. Not to say that that's better or worse, but point is yeah, I
Yeah,
don't care for music as much as I once did.
yeah, we're in the same boat then. It just seems like a chore anymore too. You know, trying to stay on top
Yeah.
of all the new albums with any music for me. That's kind of why I got rid of it because I was just like, I don't need to be paying for this. If I want to listen to something, um, I'll listen to it just by chance. But
Mm.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna have Apple Music or Spotify or whatever forever. But right now, I'm just trying something new, trying to almost fast from it, um,
Yeah.
with my intent behind it. And that's just for me. Other than like my personal feelings about like some of the vulgar scene behind the music industry in general. I don't know. It's just something that I'm
Mm.
trying out. So I don't think there's anything wrong with enjoying music and wanting to listen to it every day. It's just a matter of what you're trying to get out of it, you know, because you can see
Mm.
people's attitudes and their responses switch depending on what they're listening to. You know, whether it's
Yeah.
Chicago drill music, you're probably gonna want to start hurting people or starting to act a certain way. You know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah.
that's the energy it's putting out there. So um, whatever you need to do to get you in that zone, I get it. I've been there before. But you know, this is just what I'm on right now. So no harm done.
Yeah. 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 1,000%. And one last thing too that I wanted to mention was when it comes to just music in general, right? Like what helped me stop listening to certain artists too specifically was I just turned on the music video, and it's easier to listen in the car to obviously, like you said, the beat, it sounds good. Like it always feels good. You play something nice, it's got a nice bass in the car you're driving. Like I always felt like music sounded way better in the car when I'm driving somewhere. But when you turn on the music video and you're watching, you're just like, man, like what's going on? What are they doing? Why do they have these symbols? Why do they have these different like concepts that, to be quite honest, they didn't even seem like they had anything to do with the words or the lyrics. You know what I mean? So I almost felt like what is being fed to me visually and then audibly, right? So I would encourage you guys too, like just maybe take a look at some of the music videos too, right? If they're not like making you uncomfortable, then obviously do what you're gonna do, right? I'm not here to condemn or say you can't do something, but I know for me specifically, like I was like, okay, I probably shouldn't be listening to some of these artists because their music videos don't even align with my values or what I'm about or what I would like to be about specifically.
Yeah, I feel like everyone has their own relationship with music and certain things that they may
Mm,
feel convicted over compared to other things, like maybe what they watch on TV. So it's not like you
yeah,
said, it's not us condemning the audience or anything. It's just what we're doing for ourselves right now and the why behind it. And that's the why is like I feel like the closer I get to God and my faith, it's like the more I start to take that veil off for certain things in my life that might have been affecting me negatively. So, like I said, it's just something that I'm trying out right now. Uh, I'm not against music by any means. I love music. It's beautiful. Um, but you know, right now it's like very dry. I'm not listening to too much. Um, but there's a lot of great artists out there, especially um, art that doesn't push
yeah,
a negative message. So you can find a lot of artists and
yeah,
music out there that could give you a similar effect to what you're used to listening to if it is more of a negative tone. You just got to give it a chance. And I think,
right,
especially with the Christian music
yeah,
now, it's like they are starting to surpass the mainstream music for me because beats are just as good. The beats are just as good, but the message is even better.
mm,
I just feel better about
yeah.
it.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, and like you said, Mike, like it's not to come down on anybody or tell them that they can't be doing something right. We all have our own appetite of when we choose to want to be involved with something or not. But yeah, I mean, like you said, if the music is making you feel a certain way that maybe you don't want to feel, whether it's like sad, depressed, angry, hurt, whatever the case is, maybe it's an indicator to try something else, right? And maybe take a look at some of the words, right? Because you might find out that they don't align with you as much as you think. Just sounds
Yeah,
good.
yeah, and it's like the first time with anything, it's never gonna feel as good as it initially did when you first listened to it and um, started to really enjoy. Like, oh, this is a brand new song, this is a new beat, and then it just so happened to be this part of the moment that brings up a memory for you. You're constantly always gonna want to chase that first of anything that
Yeah,
was positive. So, um, don't chase it too hard to the point where you're just searching for more and you're gonna come to an empty road of disappointment. But uh, yeah, that's all I gotta say about that.
yeah. And I'll just wrap up real quick, right? And also another piece, it's not even saying it can't be secular, right? And what secular really means is just not like religious based. It's not like faith based, essentially. So there's a lot of secular music out there that is, I would imagine, is completely fine. Maybe not all of it, but you know what I mean. Like find what you like, find what interests you, and just gradually maybe cut some things out if you like. But yeah, let's jump into. I don't know how many of you guys actually watched this Jake Paul fight the other day against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
Yeah,
But
he's
I
now.
don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, just to give Jake his flowers, he's ranked number 14 by the WBA in the cruiserweight
Yeah, yeah,
division, so he's eligible to challenge the unified champ Gilberto
yeah,
Zurdo Ramirez. He's also called
I
out names
think,
like Anthony Joshua and Odoo Jack and Gervonta Davis, but he might be
uh,
getting ahead of himself a little bit there. But
and Canelo.
yeah, I think the catch to it all though is he's fighting people that are way past their prime, such as who he just fought right before this fight, Mike Tyson. It's a money grab, and then now Chavez Jr., who he just beat, correct? Um,
Yeah.
so he's not really showing me too much in terms of willingness to, and it's also, I think it goes both ways of the boxers being willing to, put themselves on that platform to fight a celebrity, because I don't look at Jake Paul as a legitimate boxer. Yes, does he have the capabilities? Yes, does he have the knowledge and the experience? Sure, but he doesn't have a brand yet for me to say, oh yeah, I know Jake Paul, he's a boxer. He's always going to be that YouTube Disney Channel kid to me. And I think he's
Mm.
okay with that because he's confident in himself, but he's also just trying to veer off into this path of boxing. And I do think he's taking it serious, but how serious can you take it when he's fighting people outside of their prime? He's fighting people close to 60 years old, even though it's like a household name, Mike Tyson. So, is Jake Paul's WBA ranking legit to you, or is it just a marketing stunt?
It's a little bit of both. I think the problem with Jake Paul is that from his very first fight, he had more eyes on him than probably any boxer in history. And we pretty much saw every single fight. We saw his progression back when he started, maybe what was that, like 2019, 2020, maybe a couple years before, but he's been doing this for at least 4 or 5, 6 years or so. So, like a normal amateur boxer is not gonna have, a couple 100,000 people watching or tens of thousands in the audience to watch you, right? And what I think some people forget is that Canelo's fought like 60 fights. Florida was 50-0. Even Julio Cesar Chavez was like 40 plus fights. Even the guy that he's supposed to, or that he could essentially challenge, right? Gilberto Zordo Ramirez. He's like 48-1, right? These guys have had a lot of fights, and he has what? He's 12-1 with 7 knockouts. So you don't get to 40-0 without fighting probably a lot of bums, honestly, that you'll never hear about, that never actually went on to be anything. So I think what Jake did was he got experience in the ring, and he fought people obviously that have some caliber, right? Like Tyron Woodley and Ben Askren and Nate Robinson and Mike Tyson, Mike Perry. I think I said Tommy Fury, who he lost to, and he fought some other boxers too that I'm sure not too many people would actually know, and he beat him. So, is he legit in the fact that he probably can beat a guy like Gilberto Ramirez? I would probably say no, especially since that dude's been boxing probably his whole entire life, and he is the legitimate champion.
I mean, it only takes one hit though.
Yeah, I mean, it does, but like, yeah, like they're cruiserweights, right? Like, to be honest, that's not like a division that's super super competitive. At least from my understanding, I I looked at the names of Gilberto. I looked at the names of his notable fights. I don't know a single person, and I would say I'm a little bit more of a. I'm not like your just average boxing fan. I wouldn't pretend to be like a historian or anything like that, but there are no notable names that I could really sit there and think of. And his only loss came from Dimitri Bivol, who is a really good fighter, and he beat Canelo obviously when Canelo tried to go up. So
Yeah.
I would imagine that 14th, like, sure, whatever, because I don't know those other guys. You know what I mean? But
No,
I
I
don't think he could
think
beat him.
I think it just comes down to how he began, right? Because he already has this title of being a YouTube guy, an actor of some sort, right? Now, for me, I don't really remember him on Disney Channel ever. I never watched
At
any of
all.
his YouTube. I don't watch Logan Paul. I just see them because of mainstream media and social media. So he's a social media star to me, right? And the way he began boxing was by trying to fight these people that already have, um, I guess, a career in it. I think it would have been an easier way for me to buy into him being 100% legit boxer is if he really like started from the bottom and not chasing
Boxing
the
route.
yeah, and not chasing the views, not chasing the pay-per-view, just going in there and fighting the nobodies, winning, making a name for himself, and then say he's 20-0. Now he can start reaching out to other people that are on the same level of boxing history of legit fights. But instead, it's him calling out people that are already washed up in their sport or people that are amateur in their sport and just trying to get views for it. And it's like, yeah, it's a money grab. You're a businessman. You're gonna make these business opportunities. And maybe at that time he wasn't thinking from that standpoint, right? He's just like, I can make money from this, and I'm actually pretty good because he does have talent. I think he's better boxer than Logan Paul. Logan Paul is just more of a showman, and clearly he fits in the WWE realm perfectly. So it's like looking at it in another comparison. Tyreek Hill calling out Noah Brown, right? Noah Brown's not going to step down to race Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's a professional football player, and vice versa. Um, Now you got people like I Show Speed who wanna race Tyreek Hill because he's the fastest man in the NFL. That's different, right? None of them are professional track athletes.
Yeah.
So it's like it you take it with a grain of salt and you take it for what it is. It's like, yeah, this is just entertainment. Yes, Tyreek Hill could be a potential professional sprinter if he really wanted to work on it because he has that ability. He ran just like a 10.15 recently. So I'm sure he could do that. But when you start with just calling out people that are already in the profession their whole lives because that's what they do, and then the only time you get to really showcase it is the people that are washed up, retired, or just because they have a household name like Mike Tyson, it takes away from it, And it's like those people like Mike Tyson, you think they're gonna go out there and try to get knocked out on purpose? Maybe if
Right.
the dollar figure is high enough. So it's just like you don't know what
Right.
to believe, and this isn't really anything to take too serious because it never started too serious. So all respect to Jake Paul because he's really doing it, but it's just very unorthodox. And with social media today, I think a lot of it is kind of taking away from the pureness of the sport.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I know that some people hold that same opinion. I like to feel like it's. I mean, look,
Let me ask
the
you a
UFC
question.
is. Yeah, what's up?
So say you have one of these social media stars, right? And they try to
Mhm.
get into the NBA or the NFL or NHL or baseball. What are the chances of them doing that? Slim to
Zero.
none. Slim to none. So why are we going to say they have a chance to do this in boxing just because they've showcased and brought in this many people or this many views? You can't take it that serious if you're not going to take it serious for the other sports out there. You know what I mean? Because those other sports out
I
there, they're
do.
not even going to accept that. You have to
I
work
do.
your tail off to get there. And I know it's a different sport. It's a one man thing,
Yeah.
so it could be seen differently. But that's just the way I see it. In overall sports, don't take away from the real sport because the intention wasn't there, right? You're just trying to make some money, and now you have some skill, and you're just trolling to try to get another fight that could potentially make you more money.
I like to think this about combat sports that you don't get the best athletes. For instance, like you take John Jones. John Jones has three brothers that are, or has three brothers that are, I believe, all in the NBA or NFL, or at least play in the NFL. And he used to talk about how he would get beat up by his older brothers, and he never beat them. But you got John Jones is arguably the greatest UFC fighter of all time, right? He pretty much beats everybody. I think he only has like one loss, like a very, very long time ago. He pretty much manhandles everybody. Cyril Gane gets in there, he just destroys them, right? So I think that if you took the best athletes and you had them into combat sports, you would see a different you would see a different level of competition. Now, with that, I'm not advocating to say that Jake Paul is one of those elite athletes by any means, but I would like to say that, look, he doesn't need the money. I don't believe he's doing it solely for the money because he's made a ton outside of boxing, and he probably makes a lot more from other things. But I say, like, look, if you have the opportunity to use the status that you have and you're going to go at it. I mean, look, he's buying the best, some of the best trainers you can get. He's got a whole gym in Puerto Rico where he trains. Like, he's living the life of a boxer. So if you're going to go have the means to do that and you're going to put everything into it, even though you may have started later, hey, I'll roll the dice and see what happens. Right? If you can compete with some of these guys, then more power to you. And so we'll have to see it. Does he deserve to have a fight like that? A title fight? Probably not, to be honest. But if I'm Zardo, I'd probably take it, because probably the most eyes that you'll probably have, especially from the cruiserweight division. And if you if you beat him badly, then the whole story is over with. You know what I mean? But if you see that he's in there and he's competing, you know what I mean? Like,
No,
I don't
I
know.
see
He
your
just needs to
point.
stop calling out. He just needs to stop calling out just everybody, because
I see your
he's like
point.
200 pounds and
No,
he shouldn't call out. Yeah.
yeah, I understand where you're coming from. The thing with the best athletes going into combat sports, you could say it the other way around. The best combat athlete, or the best fighters, trying to go into these sports with a ball, they're probably not going to fare too well, right? Um,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, some people may transition to different ball sports better than others, but I think if you're really perfecting your craft, if you're really a fighter, you're a fighter. If you're really a baseball player, you're a baseball player. Yeah, you might dabble a little bit with basketball and such, but what are you known for? You know what I mean? It's like no one took Jordan serious for playing baseball. Like, yeah, he might have made a few plays, but they never look at Jordan as a baseball player. I still don't look at Jake Paul as a boxer because of how he's getting there, and nothing wrong with how he's getting there. It's just like no one's ever going to take him serious. And even though you have Hall of Famers like Floyd Mayweather fighting Logan Paul just to shut him up, that really doesn't do much more for the other boxer like Logan Paul, other than just saying, "Hey, I was fighting Logan Paul." It was all a money grab. And yeah, you said that
Yeah.
Jake Paul doesn't need the money. Yeah, none of the guys need the money. But in combat sports, they're trying to make the most money because the lifespan in combat sports, especially physically speaking, is not long. You're not gonna want to keep getting hit in the head and deal with those repercussions when you're 40 years old, 50 years old, dealing with that stress. Even playing football, all those concussions and people having to deal with CTE. Obviously, you can't diagnose CTE until they're dead, but you know what I mean. So it's like, yeah, they're doing it for the money, no matter what you look at it as. It's like, yeah, they have a love for the sport. But Jake Paul is not a legit boxer because he is not doing it. Well, he's a legit boxer, but the caveat to it is that he's not doing it the way that all the other true professional boxers are doing it. You know what I mean? He's just like it's like playing a video game and saying, "Oh, I want to use Jake Paul just because of the name." You know what I mean? Just because of the entertainment. And the more
Yeah.
you see that in combat sports, like say they're doing that with WWE or UFC, I think it would take away from the sport of UFC. People would start looking at UFC as like a joke. It's like, oh, now we're gonna see this guy start fighting, I don't know, Manny Pacquiao or something stupid. It just kind of like degrades it for me. It's all entertainment at the end of the day, but how much do you want to be entertained when you're watching a washed up boxer fight a YouTuber?
Yeah. Well, that's, like I said, that's why, because I mean, most people, unless they're following a fighter, they're like a legitimate fight fan, they typically don't watch, like I said, the whole man's career, right? Like Canelo had 60 fights. I've watched the last probably 15 to 20 of his fights, right? Like ever since he was like 20 when he fought Mayweather. Pretty much probably watched every fight after that. Same thing with Mayweather. I watched every fight since De La Hoya. So
And
I
you
think he
probably have
probably
more
had
respect
another.
for him too.
Yeah, but I'm saying is like I also didn't watch his first 10 fights either. You know what I mean? Like usually you find these people when they make a name for themselves. Jake had a name for himself coming into it, so he kind of went into it obviously in a way that most
But what's his
boxers
name
don't
for
have the
himself in?
opportunity to do.
What's his
No, no,
name for
I
himself in?
understand
You
that.
know,
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just saying that if you have a name for yourself and you go somewhere, you're going to get views regardless. You know what I mean? So if he has 10 fights against some dudes that you probably wouldn't imagine are the greatest boxers, or you think it's a joke, I would probably argue that, Canelo, Mayweather, De La Hoya, Pacquiao, if you probably look at their first 10 fights, might be a dude who was considered a boxer, but like I said, nobody knows who they are now either. So
I think,
it's just the fact that nobody watched it. Nobody was watching it. They probably weren't even on
yeah,
TV.
I'm
So
not.
that's the only
I'm
difference.
so you're taking WA ranking as legit, right? Is
I mean,
WBA ranking as a
it
legit
don't.
thing?
I mean, look. Do I think that they probably helped him get there, right? Like by beating
I
Chavez,
think it's
who,
legit. I mean,
yeah, like
he had to earn it,
I don't know.
but
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. It's yeah.
hey,
Let's see what he does from here. You know what I
I
mean?
think it's
Like,
legit because he had to earn it by actually boxing, no matter who he
yeah,
boxed. It's just, for me, it's taking away from the actual professionalism of the game, of the sport, boxing. Because until I see Chris Brown playing in the NBA, then I'm going to start looking at the NBA as a joke, even though I already think the NBA is a joke for other reasons, right? It's like, okay,
yeah,
now we just get this random guy who has talent in this sport that he's practicing all the time, but he's a movie star, and now he wants to get into this sport and play professionally, and he may succeed and excel in certain facets of it. Not going to be a Hall of Famer by any means, but me looking at the sport, it's going to degrade it a bit because then they're just going to say, oh, let's get this guy and try to have him fight. And that's what you've seen. You've seen the trend of these social media stars start boxing each other. And it's like, that's what this is turning into. And it's taking away from the actual professionalism and the actual boxers that are starting from the ground up and trying to make a name for themselves. And it's making it a little more difficult for them because they have to grind through the actual matches without having to cherry pick what celebrity
yeah,
they want to fight. So that's what degrades it for me. The Canelo fight, that's legit, but the sport of boxing, it's like it's opening up a different avenue for people that want to get into it. And if you have money, um, you can possibly get your foot in the door.
yeah. I mean, look. At the end of the day, can he hold his own against these guys? I don't know. Maybe. You know what I mean? Against the ranked boxers, that's going to be the real
Didn't he
question because,
fight Anderson Silva?
yeah, yeah, he knocked him out.
Yeah. You think
Yeah,
Anderson
I mean,
Silva really got knocked out? That looked fixed.
it, no, I think it. Look, when you're
Like I said,
200 pounds and you got a right hand, like you can knock anybody out. You know what I mean, or knock him down. Like
it
he's a
takes one
very
punch, that's for
capable human
sure.
being. Yeah, he's a
Right.
capable human being. And I just think, like I said, the only reason why I disagree with that it's making the sport, it's diminishing the sport is everybody, like I said, he's ranked now. He can't hide. He can't keep fighting. Like he says he wants to fight legitimate boxers. Well, now he's going to have to fight guys that, like I said, we don't know these guys in the cruiserweight division. I don't know how good they are. They don't have a big name. They're not carrying big cards. I don't see most of these fights being promoted by DAZN or uh, Netflix or any of the Showtime, like any of the major boxing promotions. So what tells me that this is not a division that's super popular. It's just not. right? It's not like heavyweights back in the day. It's not like the welterweights. It's not like the middleweights. It's not like it's just not the division. It was what I'm saying that is getting eyeballs. So if he goes in and he competes with these guys, then more power to him. But like for the other YouTubers or the other streamers or the other people that are just getting in the ring, like we all know that those are just, like you said, money grabs. They're just short
How come
entertainment.
they
Everybody
call
knows it's stupid.
did they call this an exhibition as well? I didn't watch it.
No.
So
I
this
think
is like
I
a
mean,
legit.
yeah,
I guess
all
it
of his
was an
fights have been
exhibition if
like
he's
legit.
ranked now. It
Yeah,
just
I mean, he's
may
12
be an
one.
unorthodox way, and I may be like, if he becomes like a world champion by someday, then good for him. But I don't look at boxing as with the same professionalism, with the same etiquette anymore. And not to say that those celebrity people can't fight each other, but just because of people like this, just trying to be serious, but you're not really fighting anyone serious. You know what I mean? You're fighting washed up guys in the game, and you're trying to get your foot in the door by fighting washed up people. And no one's going to take you serious unless you go through the ringer. It's like saying, oh, I want to start and play football. Look at my highlight tape from these 7-on-7s against these washed up old NFL players. Well, yeah, you got to go from high school through college, through the whole thing, and you're going to be seen as a more legit athlete in that sport compared to the boxing. So if he's trying to get in his professional card this way, it's just like ruining the professionalism of the actual sport itself to me. Not to say that Jake
Yeah,
Paul doesn't deserve it, but it's just like the leniency because if he didn't have money, no one would be watching him. If no one really knew him, what would they be doing, right? It's just because of his past, and great for him, but I don't look at the sport the same anymore.
my point. You know what I mean? That's what I was saying. Like nobody, if he didn't have money and nobody knew who he was, then he'd be 12-0. And if he won all those fights, like he did, obviously, and he
All
legitimately
those
was
fights against
ranked.
who, though? You know what I mean?
But yeah, I know, but nobody's coming out the gates as starting your professional career fighting Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. You know what I
It's not
mean? Like
about who
you,
you
like I said,
fight. It's about going through not the same process, but a similar process of getting your foot in the door. You got your foot in the door by fighting washed up Hall of Famer. You got your foot in the door by fighting another washed up guy that you just beat that used to box. You know what I mean? It's like all these guys are retired. Tommy Fury beat him, cool, but Tommy Fury is just another boxer that isn't. Um, I don't know if he still boxing. Like he's
yeah,
okay,
he's not
right?
very good. Yeah.
But I don't know. Just getting your foot in the door by doing it that way, I don't know, rubs me wrong because I would be upset if another sport we saw that happening and then we tried to take the sport serious at the highest level. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think just the outcome of it will all determine, you know what I mean? Like if he really comes out and he's like really holding his own against these ranked opponents, and I don't really care how you got there. Because if you're good enough to be there, I don't really need you to go through the amateurs and go through all that type of stuff. Like if you can step in and dominate, then you probably should be on TV sooner than later. Maybe that's not conventional for everybody, but it's like a dude who starts off, who just started playing football in senior year of high school, and then he gets 20 D1 offers. You know what I mean? Like he didn't start playing in Mighty Mites like us when we were 8 or 9 years old, but the dude was 6'5",
No, he was
290,
just
and
playing
then
eighth graders to get his highlight tape up there as a senior. And then they're like, "Oh yeah, this looks good. Let's bring him in." That's what it looks like to me. It's like, "Oh yeah,
yeah,
this is my first year playing football, but I'm playing down at the Mighty Mites eighth grade football as a 16, 17 year old. You know what I mean? That's what it looks like to me. Obviously, these are all grown men, grown adults, but you're fighting people that just don't really have much to say for themselves as they're in their own career, other than Anderson Silva coming from a totally different type of fighting. UFC, everything's involved. Oh yeah, let's just get some money, and they know what they're doing, but it's just not like the way I want to see that sport bring in another professional fighter. Not to say that he can't do it, because obviously, clearly he can. It's just not as
Right.
legit. It's not. It takes away from the etiquette. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, look, time will tell, all right? Like, show type in the comments, how many of you guys think Jake Paul is legit? How many people you agree with me and don't care how he got in the door? And hey, as long as he's putting up good fights, which I'm not arguing that he has at this point, but oh, and now he's ranked. He got where he wanted to be. If he holds his own, hey, more power to him. I don't care. But yeah, share your thoughts. Let us know what you think. But look, we love you guys. We appreciate you guys for the support. Again, share your thoughts. Right? Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Where do you think that we can maybe process things a little bit better? Please share with your friends, share with your family. Please like and subscribe. Thank you guys for supporting us. Thank you guys for being our family. We love you guys. And Mike, any last words?
Well, we'll see you next week. Love you guys. Everything that Thaddeus mentioned, hit it right on the head. So we'll see you next time. God bless.